Welcome to What the Flick, everybody. It is season 6, the final season of Downton Abbey, and in your many of your Sunday papers received this Downton Times insert. I have an objection to this. This is why I've.
It's looking very unironed, I have to say.
So in the Downton Times. By the way, what's the doctor's name?
No.
The doctor.
The doctor.
The doctor got on the cover. But check out so inside, take my one shot here for a sec. So here's the characters of Downton Abbey, right? So they got the family up top. There's the dowager and the dad and the American and the slutty sister and the dull sister and the driver, right?
Oh, and Tom's not even on this year.
No.
Right, we don't unless he comes back.
Unless he comes back, I
Unless
guess,
he comes
yeah.
back. So, but then check out like the help, right? You got Carson and Hughes and Evil Thomas and Miss Patmore and Anna. Like, how is Daisy?
Exactly.
It's an outrage that Daisy's not on here, and I'm forgetting now someone else who should be on here.
Mosley.
Yeah, Mosley.
Mosley should be on here, but Daisy should definitely be on
Daisy.
here. And there's no Mrs. Crawley.
Oh, good. Yeah,
wait,
well.
If you're gonna do this,
Oh,
then
there is no Isabel.
There's no Isabel. Make the pictures smaller and include the people who are on the show.
It should look like the cast of Nashville, the movie, not the TV show.
Yeah, the guy's on the cover of your damn paper, and you don't have a little thing for old Doc Johnson or whatever his name is. I don't think that's it.
No.
Anyway, that was my objection to the Downton Times.
Well put. So much going on here. For starters, Lady Edith is dressing on point.
Right?
Every outfit she popped up in this episode was rocking.
She finally has a sense of style.
Yes.
I'm really impressed
Going
with
to
her.
London, she has blossomed, and I'm thinking, get the hell out of the sticks.
Yeah, no one should be discouraging you.
No, move to the city, become a newspaper baroness, raise the kid, and
fire that editor who doesn't want to work for a woman. Get an editor who does want to work for a woman.
exactly,
Let's go.
or a woman for that matter, and
don't be silly.
leave
That's
Mary,
too progressive.
leave Lady Mary behind to spin her webs back in the burrows and become fabulous because Jesus, she's met Virginia Woolf. She met Lytton Strachey, and she is dressing so great. I'm so excited because she's been such a damp rag for this whole series. They're finally letting her become like a woman.
Okay, Bates. There's also no Bates.
Oh
It's insane. It's insane. It's insane. Okay.
So
yes.
Bates anadrama, that's resolved real fast.
Thank God. I mean, I thought it was
Or
resolved.
so we think. I mean, look, come on. It's like every other
always
season.
something.
Yeah, there's always something with those two.
I sense that they're headed toward adoption because Bates had that one. She says she can't give birth. Maybe she'll get pregnant now that the stress is gone. You pointed that out. But that line about Bates from there's so many kids in need of so many homes and people who want kids and can't have them, it just seems like they're the couple who should adopt. In fact, I say 2. They need 2 kids.
Or you know what? I'm gonna go out on a limb here. And again, if you're in England and you've seen these, don't spoil shit in the comments. Let us Yanks have this. I'm gonna predict here that it's gonna be a Ted Baxter, Georgette thing where they adopt and then she gets pregnant.
Oh, I like that.
Just a
That would
thought.
be nice.
It
Yeah.
totally could happen. Right. But to get back to Edith, God bless. I mean, you're right. We got to get her out of there, and she'll meet some guy. She's the actress who plays her is quite striking. Actually.
Yes.
Yeah. And all of a sudden, like we've reached this point. Like it's no longer because she was lousy to marry. In fact, she was really unpleasant the first 2 years. Edith was, but now you're just on Edith's side. You're like, Mary, have we all not had it? Like you guys don't have a second of bonding over the loss of your great loves and the father of your children. Like you can't have.
But Mary doesn't know who doesn't know about Marigold.
Because Mary is also capable of being incredibly
selfish
and clueless.
But here's the thing: is that I don't think Edith needs someone. I think of all the Downton women, Edith is the one who can stand on her own, and I think like let her just go and be that progressive woman in London. I would love that.
Totally, but like that's it. No, she doesn't need to. I didn't mean meet a man.
No, but I'm just saying I would love that for her character. Yeah, she needs
don't
to
be
date.
Mrs. Patmore, who's apparently never been touched.
Well, there was that one guy who was wooing her, but it turns out he just wanted to use her for the cooking.
Yeah.
Right, but she said in that conversation with Carson So those were lovely. Those were
Oh,
Yeah.
that was
Oh my
that was
gosh.
very sweet. And what could have been, and even on earlier seasons of this show, could have been like sort of sticky misunderstanding, you know, Three's Company kind of bullshit. Like they were very to the point and like, let's talk about what we're talking about. And that in itself is interesting enough to keep this scene going. And yeah, I think that's probably still an issue, I think, for people of a certain age who get married. The idea of like, well,
how intimate.
Yeah.
how's that going to go? You know.
And I love that they broke it down for poor, you know, Mrs. Hughes. Is that, am I attractive enough? You know,
Yeah.
am I old? And then ultimately it came down the same for Carson. He's like, I don't know. Is she gonna love me for me and accept me for me? And I thought it was such an honest scene, and I loved the two of them together. And you seen poor Mrs. Patmore as the go-between, and she was so awkward about it. Like,
But that was such great television,
I
having her
know.
turn away.
yeah.
Yeah, I can't.
And then
he turns.
And then he
Yeah.
turns away. And then when he realizes it, and then she's like, "Okay, now we're talking.
Yeah.
So good. We've arrived at the same point without us ever to say it." Yeah.
But yeah, his whole declaration about the kind of marriage he wants was lovely, and then the last scene with Mrs. Hughes, where he reassures that he wants to get rid. That is the sexiest closed mouth kiss I've seen in I don't know how long.
Yeah, that was.
Holy crap.
Yeah, that was nice.
Meanwhile, Daisy the Red Menace, I love that she, because, you know, remember last season, she got very fired up about the proletariat, thanks to, you know, Thomas's school teacher friend. And she clearly is, you know, this is her year to speak truth to power, even when that's awkward and inappropriate, but what the hell?
And I think mirroring our times a little bit here, that Julian Fellows has that sort of the idea of some contempt for the one percenters.
Yeah.
You know, not just from Daisy, but from that rather
Blackmailer.
loathsome blackmailer.
She had a good bad face.
Yeah,
Yes,
she
she
did.
did.
She was well cast, and she did a nice job. But it also then gave us a really touching bit of parenting.
And Lord Grantham not fucking something up for
I
once.
know.
It's like, are we in the Bizarro universe all of a
I'm
sudden?
gonna pay her $50 and I'm gonna end this thing, and then you and I are gonna have a moment when I don't tell your mom. You know, right? You know, and no judgment.
Yeah.
You know, that moment when he's like, well, it wasn't. You'd already been married. You know, it's not like you were. Not like you
Yeah,
were
because there's
getting
no about
married,
Mr.
right?
Pamuk yet.
Yeah.
But then on top of that, though, to be like, and in fact, because you did that, I think you are woman enough
Yeah.
to run this
Right,
place.
right.
It
That's
also,
right. That's right.
It also goes back to kind of like the beginning of this whole series where Mary was Lord Grantham's kind of favorite. It was,
Yeah.
you know, that was his baby girl. And it's kind of nice to see that passing of the torch, but just, you know, that acceptance there. And I really loved that moment just because it's like, oh, they're finally seeing eye to eye again. I don't know.
Yeah, that was nice.
I'm
This
a
was-
sucker for daddy-daughter things.
Totally, me
Yeah.
too. No, I mean, you know, and I obviously this time because
Yeah.
I have a daughter now, but that scene touched me. No
Yeah.
question. I was like, oh, you're still being, because my whole, you know, it comes up so often with my friends and with, you know, there's no point when I stop, and this is true for every father in the world. There's no point where you get to no longer be their father.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
You know, when I had Josie and I have the same birthday, and when I turn 86 and she turns 40, right? It's not like all of a sudden I'm going to be trying to impress her. You know, she's still going to be like, hey, look at this thing I wrote in this thing that used to be called a magazine. She's still like it never stops. And the dynamic never changes. So I love to see that with Robert.
What else? Oh, well, one of my favorite post-show tweets was Madeline Brand said that she wants a spin-off where Spratt and Denker run a B&B.
Oh, totally. That's nice. Yeah. That was good. And then, because that, of course, gave a really great moment to Maggie Smith.
Yes.
Yeah. Because you knew she was going to do something, right? When she found out that she'd been, that Denker had been doing that. And it's nice to finally, with Denker and Thomas, like what the show has suffered from for 5 years, I've thought, is this unwillingness. These people, I get it, they're clueless. By now, people have long figured out Thomas.
Yeah.
Right? So either fire him or tell him to shut up, right? And put him in his place. And Denker is the older female Thomas,
True.
you know, and they're getting that, and people speak harshly to her, and they roll their eyes, including Thomas, and then Maggie Smith.
Well, but and with Thomas, they're like, could you stop like vamping the footman
But
again?
even then, though, Thomas was still the one who was going to Carson and be like, well, can we talk about this? And like, he was the only one kind of being rickrolled into this. So
yeah,
it was fitting. It was really fitting.
So, and that's the other thing is that obviously we're dealing with they're moving things along quickly. Times are very much changing, and of course, what they don't know, but we know, is that we know it ends, and much of it ends in 4 years.
Yeah.
Sure.
When the market crashes. Although I don't know how invested these people were in stuff that was affected. Obviously
they've had financial turnarounds before that seem to be tied to the general economy.
Yeah.
So.
So I like those conversations. And Robert trying to he's like, let's whatever we can do with just attrition, let's do that. Like I don't want to fire anybody. Let's just not
replace them.
Replace them. Yeah. But I was pleased. I thought Daisy might be gone, so I was pleased to see Daisy back. I loved that guy's reaction that we didn't get I like your spunk, young lady. I'm going to let him stay. Instead it was, no, why would I let him stay?
How dare you?
I'm not into this. I'm not into public humiliation.
Because really, and people have pointed out that the Granthams are or the whatever we're calling the family are a lot kinder to their staff than most of these people were. Like, if in real life, a Mrs. Patmore were losing her eyesight, her boss probably would have just fired her and not sent her to London to get.
Boss wouldn't have known. Oh, you're firing the cook.
Yeah.
We'll get another cook.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. But I love the moment at the end where they come down.
Yeah, they were legitimately excited to come down.
Yeah, they come down, they have the champagne, they're raiding the fridge. It's like, oh, that's...
I had a weird, I don't even love this show, but but I had this moment where what if Anna and Mary, they're on some outing somewhere and there's a tragedy and people are killed and they're stranded together. Like at what point do they just go, okay, the dynamic is over. We're just friends.
Yeah.
We're just two people.
Yeah.
We're stuck in the wilderness. We're just buddies. You don't have to call me Lady Mary.
Right?
We're just Anna and Mary, and we're gonna rib, talk about boys. Which was an odd fantasy.
No, but I've often thought about that too. Like, where does the breakdown happen? Like, it has to happen at some point, right?
Yeah, I don't think I don't think it ever would. I don't think that after when let's presume that we get to the point where maybe Bates and Anna leave. Maybe they get other jobs, or maybe Mary. Mary will continue.
Or Anna and Mary become, Denker and Violet. Decades later, where they're just sort of hanging on to each other as the last vestige.
That's fine.
But then I don't think there would ever be a moment where if Bates and Anna end up adopting, and I don't see Mary coming over and just hanging
out.
I mean, she's going to come over. They're still going to have to serve her.
Yeah, we can. That's okay. We'll save it for our fan fiction.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, she will be, literally the great lady, and she'll come over and have gifts for the kid or whatever, and then sort of swan out.
I want Thomas back. I like his.
Oh, Tom.
Tom.
Yeah.
Tom. I like his.
Yeah.
We couldn't come up with two different names.
I know.
World, that was it. I'd like Tom back. I'd like him to return.
He definitely adds a nice. He just had such a different dynamic, and I miss his spunk. I miss how he challenges.
Yeah.
But now Lord Grantham is kind of not. He doesn't need to be challenged in that same way. So I don't know what role.
That's right.
Exactly, and I think not that this show did it so much, but it's easy for this kind of show and that kind of character to be like the voice of the late 20th century.
Yeah.
To sort of be the audience's sort of into a show that is in a different period. I'm reading Matt Seitz's Mad Men book, and he's talking about how that show very rarely does that kind of wink at the audience, like, oh, aren't we more sophisticated now and not like these yokels. But you're right. I don't think the show needs that voice so much anymore because times have changed so much for these people in the 10 years since the show premiered, and the 10 years.
Yeah, and I think
in Showtime since it premiered, that they're all dealing with the fact that it's not what it used to be.
Yeah, I think Edith is kind of becoming that voice for a different generation. I think it's kind of more the woman's place now is growing. So
yeah, Edith is representing it, and Daisy to some extent. Daisy's the political rabble rouser, and Edith is the progressive. Separate from politics, but the social progressive.
But I do hope we see more Tom.
I would like to see Tom back.
And I love that Carson is like, I'm not calling you by your first name while we're at work.
Also, but and because Grantham had that line related to that thing we were just talking about.
Do I have to call her Mrs. Carson?
No, but well, that was nice too. Well, them at the refrigerator, again, they're, as you say, they treat the staff better. They really feel it. But no, his line about, look, if I could reverse things to this place, but I can't, and I've got it. He's got it. His progression as a character is striking, and it's I think 13 years, 25, 19. Titanic sunk in 12, right? Yeah.
Oh, okay. You're right.
So we're at 14 years. He is really he's grown up. He's grown up, and it's credit. He's not screwing things up. He's like, you know what? I'm not that. I need Mary. I'm bad with money. I can't save everybody's job, but I can, I don't know. It's good.
Well, the writing on the wall is in 10-foot letters. You know, I think that no one is kidding themselves.
Also, that other guy, right? He was.
Yeah, you go to that other auction. It's like, all right, this is over. Like,
right, but the guy literally said, "Don't do what we did."
Don't hold out. Don't hold out.
Make plans.
Yeah, because in 4 years, unless they're run by the government, these houses are gone.
Yeah.
Which is, I'm sure, totally true. And it felt like that people would know that it was coming. That's not one of those sort of lines that gets written, in hindsight. I believe that in 1925 they were cognizant enough to realize that was all going to come.
So there's not Fellows is definitive. There's no season 7, but there is a movie likely. He's trying. He hopes to have a movie, and I would like that movie set, like 10 years later.
Yeah.
I would like to see them deal with Hitler.
Yeah,
I'd like to see them
really
talk
like to
about the
see.
politics in Europe.
Sure.
That would be interesting.
Yeah, well, because and I'm sure there would be, Lord Grantham might even think, oh, this Hitler fellow, he's got a few good ideas.
Yeah, totally.
Like that guy in, The Remains of the Day, where the Nazi sympathizing.
Right, and there were so many in England, but it lost. But that said, I mean, this was a terrific episode. Although it was free of great drama. There was no, my biggest complaint about the show forever. You haven't been on these reviews. Is the show is largely solely fueled by people overhearing other people's conversations. Like if people would just step outside, there'd be no Downton Abbey.
It's true.
And we had none of that.
Well, and weirdly enough, like Robert and Violet have that conversation about downsizing the staff in front of young footman guy who just is completely oblivious to it. Like,
That's right.
He just doesn't report that to anybody, and it's not until Denker comes to stir the pot that it even comes up in conversation.
It's on our wide shot here, which I don't think is there as a season where maybe there is where. Like, I don't know what season that is.
Okay, well, yeah, that guy's gone.
Yeah.
The
They're
ginger's
gone. But losing Rose and Tom, there was a definite energy that
I really
that
missed. I loved Rose.
Rose was great, and I liked her fiance and the whole
liked her.
idea that she was marrying to the Jewish family and stuff. I don't know. I as much as I miss those characters, I in a way, because this is winding down, it's sort of nice to be back to the original core
back to the
group.
original.
Yeah.
But we need Tom. I gotta have Tom. I need my Tom. I need my Tom.
And the hospital intrigue is that?
Yeah, that's clearly going to be a season long.
Yeah, I mean, is it representative of a larger idea, or is it just a thing to have Isabel and Violet at each other's throats?
I think it's the latter.
Yeah.
But everything's good. The Abbey, the town, everything is their way of life is
changing. You're right.
changing.
I mean, I can see where they're going with it, but it feels like more of a modern day issue that, I mean, obviously affected back, in the 20s, but it's like, the whole big corporation coming in to take over the little guys, but it's nice to see it on this microcosm scale.
Dr.
Clarkson, thank you.
So the end of the year, here's what'll happen. Tom's going to come back. Bates and Anna are adopting 2 kids. Maybe she gets pregnant. Maggie Smith, she's dying, but not before telling Isabel that she's made the last 10 years of her life such a pleasure. And Isabel and Clarkson hook up.
Oh.
She's already turned him down, and she already turned down the other guy,
I know,
too.
but they have they're back to that thing where he goes, because he says,
right.
was that, are you doing it because of that guy? And
Yeah.
I mean, he loves her.
Aw.
He loves her, Clarkson. It's like a little...
He's not unsmitten, for
Yeah.
sure. Does it ever get cold up there on the moral high ground?
Yeah. And also, what was Clarkson's to her was that, I know you're not trying. Yeah. Oh, so you don't care about the patients? Jesus, I care about the patients. Come on, I'm the doctor. Yeah.
A little credit.
Yeah, please, yeah. All right, enjoyed it though, and thank you. This is you're here, right?
Yeah, I'm here. I'm going to bug you every week now.
Yay.
And you've seen the whole thing, so
Okay, I've seen everying but the last episode in the Christmas, so I won't. I will hold off.
But you're gonna faint as though you'd only seen the tree.
I will.
curtain.
I'm good enough at fibbing.
you're good at faking it.
Yep.
Okay. All right. Thanks, everybody. See you next week.